Hi everybody, Michelle McClunan here. I'm an astrologer and a life coach living in South Africa and bringing you an update, an astrology update, or if you like, an energy update of what we can expect in the next few weeks. Starting with the full moon on the 27th of February, that's in South Africa, at 10 a.m. You would need to look to see what time it is in your area, but in most areas it's the 27th of February. And full moons are always a culmination point in the middle of the lunar cycle. It's a time when things tend to come to a head, and it's a time of culmination and letting go and release. So this full moon, it's a very powerful one, but it's very gentle, which is a little bit of a respite because most of the astrology for the last few months has been quite harsh, especially the last month, February, with so many planets in Aquarius. And Aquarius, as wonderful as it is, when there's so much energy in Aquarius, it can be quite tiring, quite exhausting. It's a sort of electric energy. It's sort of a wired energy. Quite a few people I've spoken to have said that they feel wired, quite anxious, not able to sleep very well. Sleep gets interrupted, lots and lots and lots of thoughts. So that's been the energy for the last few weeks and is still around. Because we still have the square that I spoke about at the beginning of the year, and I can put a link into that video for you below. We are going to more about the major alignment that we have this year, which is between Saturn and Uranus. And this doesn't happen very often, and it's kind of a continuation from last year, which was the Pluto-Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. Saturn and Uranus is a very different energy, but it's also sort of a kind of a combative energy. And this last week, we've actually had the first of 3 squares between Saturn and Uranus. And that's quite a harsh energy. It's about the old versus the new, wanting to move forward, but having to consider our responsibilities and what we have to actually achieve, what we have to produce. It's the old order versus the new order. It's control versus liberation. So you can kind of feel that the two energies are very, very different. The one is about law and order. The one is about breaking the law. The one is about control. The one is about liberation. And when the two of them are in a square, it's kind of that pull that we can often feel within us because we really aren't separate from anything else. So whatever happens outside of us is mirrored inside of us, and vice versa. So when there's a very big planetary alignment like we've just been experiencing, we might feel it on many different levels. Some of us might like that energy. We might like the feeling of feeling wired. It might inspire us to really let go of the past and move into the future. Others of us might feel more tense and more anxious during this time. So it's a little bit like sort of thunderbolts smashing constructs and sort of unveiling the truth. That's really what this year is about. And it's really clearing away the dross that doesn't need to be here, which is not always an easy process. So when we look at what the sort of the message is for us this year, and really as a theme this year, it's to really realize that we are energetic, or you could actually say we're electric. And whatever we think, whatever we focus on, expands and ripples out into the universe. So wherever our consciousness is in any moment, that's what we're creating as a future. And that's what we're sending out into the field of energy. That's the Aquarian energy, to try and explain it. And that is what we're moving into more now than ever before. And this is what this big shift of consciousness is about. It's shifting into a higher level of consciousness where we realize that we are actually co-creators, that our every thought is actually creating our future. So having said that, this is the theme for the year. It'll be mostly now, and then again in June, and then again in December. But these themes tend to kind of permeate the energy for the full year. But it's generally a little bit more intense during those months. So now when we look at the full moon, that's going to be happening on the 27th, full moon is in Virgo, opposite the sign of Pisces. And there's always a polarity when you have opposite signs, and full moons are always opposite. So if you look at the two energies, Virgo, which is where the moon is an earth sign. Virgo is about discernment. It's about separating the wheat from the chaff. So getting rid of what doesn't serve us and focusing on what does. It's actually the sign of service. So we're called upon to actually serve. If we have a strong Virgo theme in our chart, we'll usually want to make some kind of a difference. We'll want to serve in some way. Virgo is also connected and related to health, to creating a healthy biome, to connecting with our bodies, connecting with the earth, creating order out of chaos. When you look at Pisces, which is the other side, which is the opposite, Pisces is not about order. Pisces is kind of, can be quite chaotic. It's about being one. There's no boxes with Pisces. It's the sea, it's the ocean. It's where everything is connected. When the sun is in Pisces like it is now, it's still shining because the sun always shines, but it almost, for me, energetically feels that it's diffused. It's a softer energy. It's not as powerful. It's much gentler. It's more mysterious as well. When we have a full moon in Virgo, it's activating that Virgo-Pisces polarity. So themes that might come up is order versus chaos. Judgment, which is the quality of Virgo. It's to be able to say, yes, that's right, that's wrong, that's black, that's white, that's gray, that's healthy, that's not healthy. So judgment and discernment versus unity, all is one. There are no differences. Rigid planning versus going with the flow. Control versus surrender. Mind versus spirit. Now, when we look at the ruler of the full moon, which is Virgo, and we look at the ruler of Virgo is Mercury. So then we look in the chart to see where Mercury is right now. Mercury's just gone direct after spending a few weeks in retrograde. And Mercury is wedged in between two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, in the sign of Aquarius. So what does that mean? It gives us a clue. It says that being at the midpoint between Jupiter and Saturn, Jupiter is very much about expansion, about abundance, about enlargement. It's about vision, higher truth. It's what we call a beneficial planet. Saturn, on the other hand, is about maturity. It's about lessons. It can be the teacher. It can sometimes come across as being a little bit pessimistic. You need to have rules. You need to follow the rules, where Jupiter is much more broad-minded. So when we have this Mercury, which is the mind, wedged in between this, in the sign of Aquarius, for me what it's saying is to actually be the observer of the mind, to observe where our mind is going in any one moment. Is it going into optimism? Is it going into pessimism? Is it going into glass half full, glass empty? Because that's really the point at which we can shift our consciousness. If we can just be aware of where our mind is at any one moment, we can choose to shift it. And that's what this year is about. So this full moon is really telling about what we're doing this year and what we're working with. It's about observing the mind, but not believing it, not following it into all the stories that it tells us. So the mind can very often be like a very noisy roommate living in our heads. And we might be trying to do something and the mind's constantly jabbering away, telling us why we shouldn't do it, or why we should do this, or why we could do this better. And it's to notice the mind. And so therefore, when we start to observe the mind becomes the servant as opposed to the master. This full moon is very much about becoming the master of our mind. It's also about realizing that whatever we focus on expands. So if we're focusing on everything that's wrong, then that in our reality is going to expand. If we focus on what's right in our world and we do gratitude practices, we take time to really appreciate our bodies, to give thanks for what we actually do have, it actually shifts the trajectory of our life. That's how powerful we are. So this year is about acknowledging that as a superpower, if you like, which is inherent and innate in all of us. We just have to realize it and clear the dross away that might be preventing us from realizing that and embodying that. So that's what this full moon's about. And really what I'm going to say is just to stop during your day and to question, what am I thinking? And if you like, you can put up little post-its, or we can put a little message on your cell phone. What am I thinking in any moment? And then bring yourself back to the present moment. Take a couple of deep breaths, soften your body, and drop into a place of presence. And from that place of presence, you can actually observe what's going on. And from that place of presence, you can discern which is the right way to go. Because when we're too busy in our heads, it's very difficult to make decisions. And right now, this year is not very easy in making decisions. We are faced with the unknown on our planet in a way that many of us have never seen in our lives before. So really the only known place is this moment right now. And so the other theme of Virgo is the practicalities of life. And so the quote, the old Zen quote, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. That's kind of really, really good for this full moon. Just do what you need to do. So notice what your thoughts are, bring yourself back into the present, and then after you've done that, do the next thing in front of you. Don't try and project into the future, because that'll carry you off into all sorts of stories which might or might not be true. The full moon falls on a weekend, so I would say really enjoy some time out. The sun is obviously in Pisces, along with the planet Venus, which is also Pisces. It's a gentle energy. It's a compassionate energy. It's a soft energy. It's softening us. It's helping us to land and be here now and stop doing so much and being more of a human being and less of a human doing. Pisces is beautiful in terms of connecting. It helps us. So during the month of Pisces, it's the last sign of the zodiac. It's a month to release, let go. It's the end of the solar cycle that we're in now. So this is a time for letting go of those mind constructs that don't serve us, letting go of those habits that don't serve us, letting go of anything that's dulling our light. If we're watching too much TV, maybe reducing that. If we're watching any kind of media too much, maybe reducing that. Getting more in touch with our body. What does our body need in any one moment? Does it need food? Does it need sunlight? Does it need water? Treat your body like a plant. We are a little bit like a plant, with busy minds. What do we need in any one moment? And the other question to ask is, how can we serve in any moment? How can you, in your individual way, in your unique way, serve? And Pisces is always a time to go within and to nurture and nourish the sacred. Nurture and nourish that sacred connection, because that is what's going to keep us going, and that's what's going to keep us aligned through all these changes. So I hope that's helped. I'm available for readings if you'd like to book a session. I've got about a 2-week delay. John and I are launching another Journey to Freedom course, which we're just loving, and people are benefiting so much for it. And we're just developing the most beautiful communities, really supportive, wonderful, nourishing communities. So we encourage you to, if you haven't joined us already, to have a look at that. You can check it out on our website, journeysofawakening.com. And we start the next one on the 22nd of March. And then we also have an INNERSPACE community, which is an ongoing community which you can join per month or by year. So you can sign up for a full year, you get 2 months free, or you can sign up every month. The theme for March is going to be Divinity. So connecting with our spiritual connection in a deeper way, deepening our spiritual connection, how to do that. So we're going to be going through things like meditational tools and ways in which we can actually connect to what John always talks about as the vertical plane, as the only real truth. So it's going to be a beautiful month, very gentle month, and quite an important month, I think, in terms of preparing us for the year ahead. So thank you for joining me, and we also encourage you to join us on our Sunday satsangs on Sunday nights, and I can put the link below. We hold those on John's page at the moment, and so I'll put the link below. Every Sunday at 7:30 to 8:30, we start with a centering meditation, we chat about a theme, and then we end off with a visualization. And that also is a beautiful way to just connect with the community and to give yourself some sacred time. And it's completely free, so you're welcome to join us whenever you like. And if you can't make it on the actual night, you can always catch up with the recording the next day. So that's it from me. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Take good care of yourself, nurture yourself, nourish yourself, be gentle on yourself. Lots of love.